Welcome to a new episode of the Masters of Search Talks. I'm super happy to introduce today's guest, which is Ayla Grzegowski, who is Team Lead Content and SEO at Awork, a Hamburg-based B2B SaaS startup that's making waves in the project management space. What makes Awork particularly interesting is their David versus Goliath story. They were competing directly with international giants like Asana, Monday.com, Trello, etc. So far, they are pretty successful with it, and content and SEO has played a big role in that success. So, Ayla, first of all, thanks so much for doing this today. Thanks so much for joining. Can you give a little intro about yourself and your current role at Awork?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm super excited to be here. As you just said, I'm the team lead of Content and SEO at Awork, and we are the project management tool focusing for creative agencies. And yeah, Hamburg-based, German-based, and we are on the market for like 5 years roughly. And my role is just to make sure that like all of our organic strategy from like content, SEO, also PR and brand marketing is combined, that our whole marketing funnel is like working as we would like to do it.
Very nice. I saw on your LinkedIn profile in preparation for the talk that you've had quite an interesting career path from agency to then ecom, which was Möbel.de. So for English listeners, furniture.de. And now B2B SaaS. Can you walk us a little bit through how you ended up in SEO and what then drew you specifically to the software as a service space?
Yeah, of course. So actually, I was always interested in like the whole media and advertisement area. And my dream was always to work in an agency. So after my university, I studied multimedia production. I decided to do a traineeship as a copywriter in an agency. And there I started actually for like typical print projects from like brochures and flyers. And just dive deep into these advertising market. And yeah, since the company or the agency was quite on the smaller side, but the projects were like developing. So we got lots of more website projects. And of course, they needed someone to take care of all this content that is on those websites. And yeah, sure, like copywriting and content is super connected. So I started learning content marketing just on a project based. And as it like developed even further, the customers were also asking for like, how can we increase like this visibility on like all the search engines? And yeah, we needed someone to step in. So I just took over and started learning lots like on the fly. I think this is like the typical SEO path actually. And after like 3 years in the agency, I think this is quite common. I wanted to see the other side and wanted to move like in-house. And that's why I decided to go to Möbel.de, to like the furniture platform. And that was actually quite the same, because I started as a content manager responsible for all website content, magazine, like the typical things you do have on like a e-commerce website. But they also had no SEO strategy in place at that moment. So I also took over and started focusing on content SEO, also like the typical category and product page optimization, structural projects, and I continue also working in tech SEO. And in these 3 years, I think I gained like all of my SEO knowledge because it was just like I had to, and I think it was super interesting to figure out everything and collaborating with other teams. And yeah, after 3 years in e-commerce, I thought, okay, now back to B2B, because for me, it's very important to work at a company where I do like the product or the service. And I'm a big fan of project management planning, actually. And so for me, Awork was now like just the greatest connector between like SEO marketing and then my passion, let's say, for planning. And because actually at the consultant firm I worked in between, we used Awork. So it was like a known tool for me. And yeah, so I think it's super interesting as an SEO to discover different kind of markets. That's why from B2B, B2C, there are all new challenges. And I just think it's super exciting to check what we can do as a search marketer in those areas.
Was it hard for you to make the switch from e-com to B2B SaaS then?
It actually was, because we are speaking like a completely different kind of level of like traffic, search volume, and also, of course, like search intent. Because I mean, yeah, furniture is not like a piece of clothes you buy. That's not like that common, but nevertheless, it's like pretty quick and pretty easy. Whereas like a software for like B2B, there's like a very long-term like search behavior, and the decisions are not make that fast. And of course, as I said, like the search volume is super small. So yeah, it was kind of switch. To discover what the people are really looking for, what we need to give them to make sure they understand the product. But I think there's so much potential, so it's super interesting to dive deep into it.
Very interesting. You mentioned that you were learning basically SEO on the fly, as most people do. I guess experimenting a lot. But and most people listening here, so usually from what we know, are marketing leaders, head of marketings, etc. on that level. But there are a few people that might just be starting out their career in online marketing and search marketing. So I'd like to know, do you have any specific resources or anything that you looked at particularly, or that were like helpful blogs or YouTube channels or whatever that you used when you were basically just getting into the space?
Yeah, I actually started, I don't know if this is like a lame thing to say, but I started with the Google guidelines. Because for me, it was like I want to rank on their page, so I need to know their rules. So actually, I really took my time to dive deep into every single part of it to just get a feeling of the overall what's going on there. Then I had lots of conversations with like developers to make sure I understand the whole system behind websites, how bots are working. Because I mean, our content can be as great as possible when like we are lacking in our tech setup, then it's not going to work. So I think the connection is super important to get. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of just like following a couple of people on LinkedIn. And I also a big fan, maybe a little shout out to SEO Südwest. This is my like go-to source if I need to check like what's going on in the market at the moment, because they really do like their combining approach to just say what's going on in like the area. And for sure, like being on all of those like fairs, the Brighton SEO or the Mexico as well, like typical fairs, to just get inspo from other companies and people.
You played the ball so nicely to me, and we didn't script that. But for everyone, because you mentioned fairs, conferences, etc., I think this is our little advertisement block here. For everyone that wants to hear more of Ayla's insights, you can hear her speak in German, though, but I think like very interesting still, on September 23rd, 2025. So if you're watching this video in 2026, the event is over, but we will do another one maybe. In Berlin for the Future of Search event we are doing here at Radiant. It's an invite-only event with around 30 founders and marketing executives that are looking for actionable insights on how to adapt in the new search landscape to stay visible and grow sustainably. So please check out. We will put the link to the landing page in the description if it's still like pre the event, so you can apply there. Super interesting to hear. I also like SEO Südwest. I think even as their name suggests, they might be a little bit, I don't know, very German focused. I feel like if you see something from like US SEO influencers, they pick it up very quickly. So this is very cool. Now I can imagine that you like going through these different career stages and now being team lead content and SEO at awork, your day-to-day like changed a lot probably. So I'd like to just understand a little bit, how does your day-to-day look like? Are you more hands-on with execution? Are you more strategic? Just so people can get a little bit of an idea. Maybe if they're, for example, thinking about hiring someone for this role and building up their content SEO department, what they should look for, how they should try to like structure the role.
Yeah. So maybe give a bit of a background, because our marketing team is like our goal is to have like our in-house agency that we have like skilled people for like every discipline. So we do have like a person for content marketing, we have a video creator, we have performance marketeers, we have design, product marketing. So everyone has his own role, and we are all responsible for our own topics, of course. And I'm still responsible alone for the SEO part. So to just sum it up and make sense, I'm still super hands-on, just because we don't have the capacity to have like only strategy-focused roles yet. But I really do enjoy this like mixture, because I mean, it's not even only startup. I think it's always in the marketing that it's like happening so many projects at the same time, and we are switching priorities all the time as well. But so for me, on like a regular basis, I still do create content. I still do those SEO tasks. I post on LinkedIn with our company account, with my personal account. I'm also responsible for our Mexico booth at the moment. So I think for us in the content and SEO team, it's more like everything that's not completely paid related is kind of somewhere connected with us, because it's all very merged together. But of course, I'm also responsible for like the strategy and the vision for the whole organic part that fits into our overall marketing measures, and of course the team development. But yeah, we are super close on our marketing team. So we are all working together on like lots of topics. So yeah, this is why our like daily workload always switches. But we are also like, yeah, having the North Star we are all working together on.
Let's go into that idea a little bit deeper, and like how you actually drive that forward at awork, because I saw a LinkedIn post where you talked about sitting in on demo calls and just saying like, hi, I'm Ayla from marketing, just listening in. I'd like to understand, because I think a lot of people from marketing roles would say, that's not my role, right? That's the role of sales. So why should I do that? Like, what's your reasoning behind going into the demo calls?
Yeah. So first of all, actually, everyone who starts at awork has to do it. This is like one part of our onboarding, because we think by this you really get a feeling about the product. Because I mean, it's a software B2B product, so that's why you're mostly not that common with it if you haven't worked with it already. So that's why we are all joining those calls. But I think especially for us marketing people, it's super relevant to be close with the customers, because otherwise we are just like on the typical green table thinking about cute and funny ideas that we think are interesting for our customers, but we haven't even asked them. And I mean, of course, there are lots of keyword tools, and I'm a big fan of them, of course. But for me, they are more just like a summary and like an indicator if I'm like splitting between two areas. But by really speaking to the customers, hearing their experience, and especially their questions they ask, we really get like tons of ideas that we need to put into our content strategy. Like for an example, I always thought that Kanban boards, like the typical Kanban view you knew from Trello, is like the highlight, but shows up that like most customers are using just task list. And this is an information I wouldn't get from like typical research tools. I get those smallish nuanced informations from like the customers itself.
I think that goes into the same direction. You also posted about focusing on topics rather than just keywords. Obviously, you mentioned also using keyword research tools. But like when I speak to founders or other marketing executives, and even if we make the point of topics over keywords, I still see them thinking a lot in keywords, because that's basically what everyone has been preaching and doing for the last 20 years or so. So can you explain a little bit of your philosophy behind topics versus keywords? And I think this is maybe even more critical. If I want to go this route, so how do I actually do it? So how do I prioritize topics over keywords?
Yeah. First of all, I think that this is even more relevant now in like the whole large language model era, where we are not just like looking for keywords anymore, rather than prompts, answers that need to help us and answer our questions. So for me, it's kind of, yeah, keywords are just words, right? And I mean, if you just like take it as like a common sense, if you're just creating content to rank for like single keywords, there's like this whole connection going to be missed. And that's why I think it's super important to think in topical clusters. And for example, we do have like the whole project management area, and I of course could create like content pieces that are just like focusing on here's our perfect project management tool, and another content piece explaining something else, another keyword. But I think by combining all of those, you're like telling a whole story. And I think this story is like super important for customers, but of course also for bots, to make sure that we stay as a relevant and content source. And yeah, by just focusing on keywords, I think you're also super dependent on like being visible for these keywords. But if you're like thinking more wider, more broader, you're able to create lots of different kind of content pieces that are merged together, and really make it like valuable as a whole, and not just a list of keywords, I think. So I think that's just like easy to grab. And especially now, as I said, with the large language models, you need to be the expert source for a topic and not even for single keywords.
I could also imagine that if you would, for example, focus too much on these big, like short tail, large volume, high competition keywords, you will probably have a very hard time seeing meaningful success. I already said this in the introduction, that you are basically in this David versus Goliath story. I like this framing a lot. So basically credits to you. It was your framing. I just borrowed it. You're obviously competing against these massive, well-funded international players like Asana, Monday.com, Trello, you name it, ClickUp. We could probably go on. Project management is like a very crowded market.
Yeah, it is.
From an SEO perspective, how do you approach this challenge? Or like also from a content perspective, content and SEO perspective?
Yeah. So I think for search marketers, we do have like two sides we need to like focus on. The first one is, of course, as we just started like a couple of years ago, we're not that like an old domain as like the other ones. We need to make sure there's like kind of space of visibility. So of course we had to create like lots of blog content. We also do have a glossary to just get a bit of content out there, and to just make sure there's like this rough, okay, we are relevant. And for me, this is also connected to the whole offline visibility that is, or not offline, but like offsite visibility by PR, to just make sure we get like this first like trust support we do need as like a kind of newcomer, or like, the smaller one besides all the big competitors. And then the second, and I think most important thing, is to really get into your niche. Because as you said, those other tools are more on the generic side. So they are focusing on like the main generic project management workflows, but not on like the agency specific workflows we are focusing on. So you really have to force yourself to double down on those, not that highest search volume keywords, and to focus on those, because just with the lesser manpower and of course less money, we can't like deliver the same amount the Mondays and Asana out there can. So it's crucial for us to prioritize our capacities and focus on our niche to make sure that all the topics we're out there are super fitting. And then we also see like the success we do want to see, because we're only targeting the right people.
You already mentioned the agency customers, which is your key industry you're focusing on. Can you share a little bit of how you came up with this focus? Like, were these the customers that loved the product the most? Did you have the most traction there? Like, or was it just a random decision and it clicked?
Yeah, so our founders, actually, they launched another agency software for awork. So it was kind of already like in this area. And then after they launched awork, it kind of happened that, I mean, of course, we also do have other customers, and we are happy to have them if their workflows are fitting with us. But we discovered, and this also is shown in our data, that our workflow is just super fitting for those workflows, because their challenges are that they are managing multiple projects at the same time with multiple teams, different skill levels, different skills in general, and they are super dependent to have like efficient project management planning, because otherwise like the customers won't be happy and then they'll get real issues. So by focusing on that, and of course, I mean, everyone who has looked at our website and also at our tool, we are looking very different. Like, we are focusing on like joy of work. I mean, this is one of our like vision statements as well, because we do think that people that are having fun at work are also more efficient and work better together. And to sum this all up, this really fits to like the agency spirit, where like lots of people with lots of creative energy are combined. And I think it's just common sense to give them a tool that is also fun and reflects their creative workflows, rather than just giving them like a generic project management tool.
I also feel like, from like the perspective of a customer, that these big horizontal tools like Monday.com, Asana, etc., they basically accumulate a lot of feature bloat over time, right? They have to basically cater each and every customer from different industries, which, for example, with ClickUp leads to, let's say, a lot of flexibility, if you want to say it politely, but also a very, very steep learning curve. Are you, like, when you're thinking about your positioning, also the content play, are you looking also on like the frustrations that people have with your competitors? I mean, they are obviously not direct competitors because they have a different positioning, but are you like taking this into consideration?
Absolutely, because I mean, lots of people are looking for like tool alternatives like all the time, and there are different reasons. Maybe they are unhappy with their tool. Maybe it's like a financial decision. Maybe they do want to switch to like a German-based company, also like a common advantage. But for us in search marketing, especially, those like tool alternative pages are super relevant, because we do think it's fair to just say what our advantages are in comparison to the competition. I mean, they do the same, so that's fine. And but I think here it really is important to not just say, hey, we are better, but to really show the impact, the value the users will get when they switch from tool A to tool B. And to really double down on like the feature comparison, but also the whole structural part behind it, the workflow, the agency focus, the personal support. So I think it's super important that you need to know your difference, the advantages you do have, and to really highlight it without bashing the competitors, of course. That's not the goal we're going for. Just be transparent, open, and answer the questions when they're looking for an alternative.
That's great insight. Let's go back to something you said earlier, which I found very interesting: the creative spirit and like this hands-on mentality at awork. You once wrote about something that you called the all hands on deck approach. It's obviously a term that also others are using, but you explicitly talked about that in the marketing team and how you were basically applying this in the marketing team. Can you share a little bit how how we can imagine all hands on deck at awork marketing?
Yeah. As I said, we are in our marketing team split on like all channels, all disciplines, and that's why we're also like working on like a couple of different projects all the time. So everyone's like kind of focusing on its own stuff, and sometimes this just takes longer time because everyone's just like working alone, or we are waiting on others to jump on to support. But I mean, every project has prior one, so it's sometimes a bit of a hassle. And that's why, like, I don't know, a year ago maybe, we started doing those all hands on deck days. And these are always based on like a project or an idea we do have, where we think it has great potential and we just want to get it done now. And this is always the goal of those days, that in the morning we define, okay, what do we want to reach today? And of course, we do check-ins on the afternoon, and then in the evening, the goal should be that it can be live, even with just an MVP. This is fine. And we actually rolled it out more this quarter. So at the moment, we do have our Team Focus Tuesday, which is kind of the same day, but we do it now on a weekly basis, because we discovered that by combining all of our skill and manpower together, we are not only faster, but the results are better as well, because like there's a super niche collaboration between then content, product, marketing, design. And of course, makes sense. By putting all of those skills together, we get a greater output than if like I'm as an SEO marketer do like the concept, then briefing our design team, they are delivering just the visuals, because I just asked for like a visual rather than doing the concept altogether. So this is something we are really happy we started. And for us, it's not even like a great output from a content perspective, but also for like the whole team building part. I think it's super valuable to have like projects you work on together, you see the success together. I really do enjoy it. And maybe a fun fact, we had a marketing vacation last November in Mallorca, and we also did like big workshop together. And the results of these were like so great that we really increased like our lead potential. So I think this is like a perfect example. Take time together as a team and roll out something great and big together.
Really cool. Can you share some examples from the output or outcome from the all hands on deck days? So something that you pushed through during the day?
Yeah. One thing was like a big actually tool comparison article. And for us, it's super relevant that we have like the newest informations about our competitors. So we are always up to date with them, because actually it's unfair if we say they don't have a feature and now half a year later they do have it. And so we did this article. We created graphics for those. We also created a video explaining the difference all in this day. And actually, I think it was like 2 weeks later, we already ranked for it very well and were able to spread it out even more. So this was one of those like typical things we are doing on those days, just getting content out there. We also created a webinar and the whole funnel with the email setup and everything else. So yeah, things that would otherwise take like 2 weeks, we got done in like 1 day.
Very nice. It's a cool example of like when people sometimes say, yeah, I'm stretched too thin, I don't have time. It's mostly not a matter of actual lack of time, but rather of focus, right? And getting all hands that are needed on deck to get it done. So really cool to see that. You already addressed the one elephant in the room earlier with LLMs and AI. And I think there are currently in content and SEO, there are basically two sides to AI. One is the content generation side. So should we, and if yes, how use AI to create content more efficiently or even with higher quality? And then on the other side, how do we ensure that we are still visible with people turning more to AI chatbots for search or for asking questions, or even just with the rollout of AI overviews and potentially in the future AI mode for Google? So let's maybe start with the content generation part. What's your take on AI generated content? Are you using it at awork? And if so, how? And if not, why not?
Yeah. So I think it's super important for everyone to find their own way of working with it. I think it doesn't make sense to just hate it or love it. I think we shouldn't be like on either of those sides. And we at awork, we tested quite a bit. So like we created, of course, whole blog articles just by AI, looking at the outcome, seeing if it is doing a good job at like the visibility, if also like the users are engaging with this content. We did a lot of prompt engineering as well. To just figure out if there's like kind of a way for us to use it, because as I said, we just more on the smaller side of team, because we also don't use freelance support. We are actually just creating in-house content. So for us, it's super relevant to have like this AI tool as a part of our whole creation process. But yeah, we created Avery actually, which is like a GPT, just with our brand voice, with all the general informations to speed up our process. And so maybe for me personally, AI for me is a tool for collecting ideas, doing the busy work, checking the grammar, checking like the brand style, voice, and also like gathering ideas, as I said. But I think it's crucial that like the main value of the content piece must still be provided by us content creators and content marketers to just make sure it's unique and purposeful, because otherwise we are just like one of the problems that like everyone's screaming about, that the search results and the whole content is getting worse and worse, like the typical we SEOs destroying the web. But yeah, so for me, use it as a tool, use it as a support system, but it shouldn't be a completely prompt AI going live situation from my point of view.
Makes a lot of sense. I also feel like that most people say, yeah, but AI has learned everything from McKinsey slides and all of that, so it should know. But the problem is mostly it doesn't know the context of your specific company, of your specific project, of your specific task. And I sometimes recommend to people to try to write down everything they know about a certain topic. And then mostly the response is, oh, wow, this would take forever. And then you see, and that's exactly the point. So I like your approach of providing a lot of context and a lot of knowledge about awork, about a specific project or topic, because otherwise, what should you end up with? It's just generic fluff, right?
Exactly. And I think we are stuffed with generic information. And there's no need for users, search engines, nor large language model to get this fluff content they already have read like 100 times. So I think it's just not worth it to spam your website and also use your capacities on content that will not work out at all.
And that potentially won't even bring you any traffic anymore, which is due to AI overviews, for example. So let me ask you, how are you seeing currently the impact of AI overviews and AI search? So have you, for example, Felix from Safdesk was also in the Masters of Search talk, and he admitted that they, for example, lost, I think he said about 20 to 30% of traffic due to AI overviews. Have you seen similar impacts?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting looking at the Google Search Console, because you really see the drop from like, was it end of March, I think, where AI was rolled out in Germany. And after that, the impression click scissor started. So of course, at the beginning, we were all like, I think, a bit confused what's happening over there. But when I looked deeper into the data, I saw that, like, yeah, the clicks we lost were based on like those generic content pieces, like the glossary, a couple of old blog articles, or even like a support or help center, which is like fair, because I mean that's why AIO is there, right? To just give a quick answer for people that are looking for it. So I think you have to look at it from like two sides, from like the user side, because I just want to know an answer. I don't want to search through like tens of blue links to get my easy peasy answer. I just want to get it now. Of course, for us like website people, it's the other case, because we are always happy to have like as much traffic as possible. Because coming back to your question, yeah, we also saw like a 20% drop in organic traffic, but it really was just based on this glossary content. And for us, we know that this content isn't converting at all. So it wasn't before AIO and it's not after AIO. So for me, it's fine at the moment that it's like that. Of course, we need to keep an eye on it. And I do want to keep my like website traffic quite on a steady level, because of course, for like performance marketing, retargeting, it's important to still have like traffic on our website. But I can't say that I'm like surprised by the drop and by the pages that are not getting lots of traffic anymore.
I think Google announced the rollout in Germany at end of March, and the actual full rollout began then around May. And this is something where we now see, at first we were, I think, a little hesitant on will it reach the same level of penetration, of SERP penetration, as in the US, where for some domains, you can, like big domains, where you can see that basically for 70% of the keywords they're ranking for, you have AI reviews, but now for Germany, it's basically the same. So it's come to stay. But given your thoughts about it, did you do any strategy changes? Anything where you think differently about how to create the content now than you maybe did before the rollout? Like, if you remember, you thinking about it in February and then now in September when we are recording this?
Yeah, I think we're the kind of a little bit of a special case because we always had to think differently, just due to our market share and like the competition world we're in. So that's why we always had to focus on like the really important niche content pieces that can help us make a switch. So I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you do have like a clear content and like just call it visibility strategy, not just like focusing on Google, of course, then you're good to go, in my opinion. What I think gains more importance is like being visible on other sources as well. I mean, of course, we all know like the typical backlink strategy a couple of years ago. It was super important, but I think combining like the whole being visible out there with like your brand core, your brand messages, your core narratives, then you'll get like this whole trust and authority you need to just make sure you're visible everywhere where the people are looking for. And yeah, so, but I think the bone you need, the base, is to be very niche and very sure about your message you wanted to get out there, so it's unique and a whole like understandable.
Speaking of being visible also on other platforms than Google or maybe classic search engines, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, whatever, how are you thinking at awork already about optimizing for visibility in ChatGPT, Perplexity, or other AI search tools? Like, what are you looking at? What's like if you can share some early thoughts maybe on that?
Yeah. Exactly. So we are in the process of like, getting to know the whole new area, getting a feeling about what is really changing in the search behavior, because I think this is super crucial to just not say, okay, now we do have like those new channels, because they are channels at the end. How can we be visible there? I think we need to shift our mindset in looking more like, as we did in SEO earlier on, where we are like shifting from like keywords to topics. Now we also have to shift from, okay, what are the people prompting, what are they looking for, and what are the best answers. And when you provide those answers in like a unique and valuable way that is different to all the training data those models already have, then you do have a chance. But I think it's even more important now to have like this big brand standing, then be strong and brave to double down on your niche and just make it different, and find your place to be. And for us, of course, that also means just get an overall, finding the tools you need, because of course we need to shift or put more tools in our tool stack to make sure we know where we are mentioned, and also rethinking the whole measure and KPI setup. I think it's also super important that, do we still need to check or have like the Google visibility index on like priority 1, or is it more like now we're looking at mentions rather than on website traffic? These are all like thoughts we do have, and they will all sum up in like a strategy. And I think it's a very combined strategy and not only on like SEO marketing.
And do you have a take on Google versus ChatGPT? So do you think, are you the camp Google will go out of business in 12 months, as some people suggest? Or are you more the camp this will be a coexistence, or like a completely different camp?
At the moment, I'd say it will be a coexisting. I mean, both will develop. I think not Google, not GPT will stay as they are at the moment. And I think this is like why we are now at like a super interesting era in marketing, because it's like switching super, super fast. But I don't think that our whole search behavior will switch from like we are used to blue links and figuring out like our trusty websites we see to just a system, an AI system giving me one answer and I'm good to go with it. So I think it's like, yeah, it just will shift the funnel, because if I'm first like getting to know a bit about a topic, just gathering informations, then the AI models are great because I just need quick answers. But if I'm doing like deeply researches, I want to discover areas, I want to get real informations about a brand or a product, then I think the other search engines or even like social systems will be still relevant.
Interesting. I think also if Google will make the move and when they figure out how to monetize AI mode effectively, which is currently, I think it's the first rollout was in the US and in India, actually. I think it's due to the regulatory environment where the EU basically always comes last. But now they have already rolled it out also to the UK, etc. So it feels like the same ramp up a little bit with AI overviews. And I think this could be very interesting because honestly, I heard some people talk about the BlackBerry or Nokia iPhone moment where they said like, hey, like ChatGPT is the iPhone and Google is like Nokia or BlackBerry. And I think what people misunderstand there is they see Google as having a completely different technology than ChatGPT, whereas Google also has LLMs and Gemini, and maybe some people have preference for GPT 4 or 5, whatever, compared to Gemini. But basically, it's the comparison lacks an understanding of the technical foundation. And I think most people, like the whole society, so to say, they don't really care about it, right? They just care about how can I easily, conveniently find trustworthy information for my business or my daily life or whatever. So yeah, it will remain very, very interesting. If someone in the audience today, and I could imagine that there are quite a few people listening to this and watching this, is also working in marketing for a smaller company and basically sees themselves in a similar situation to you. So the David versus Goliath situation, which, yeah, obviously can happen quite frequently if you build up a tech player in Germany, for example, or in Europe, and then you have these big American companies. What would be like your top actionable piece of advice for them?
Yeah. So first of all, really double down on your main advantage. So make sure you know your difference. This is super crucial. I think everyone in the company should be able to say, yeah, we are different from our competitor because, and then they are like clear arguments. I think this is super crucial. This should be like the base of like all tools that are on the market at the moment, but I think it's not a common sense actually. And when you define this like advantage, and you really have to create the demand for it, like create unique and clear use cases, really show the difference and not only tell them. And what I think is also super, super important is to get the first testimonials as soon as possible, because you do need this trust. Without the trust, it's always like, yeah, sounds good, but not sure. And especially in like tooling, it's different. If now I'm looking for like an app just for myself, I can just try it out and I will be fine. But like a business tool, there's like lots of responsibility. And then there's like this one person in a company that needs to make the decision why everyone should now switch or use this tool. So give them like hands-on things, hands-on arguments to make sure he's prepped for this pitch he needs to do or she needs to do in-house. So this combined with testimonials, I think will get you on a good base level. And then especially now, just don't be like the copycat. Just don't focus on this generic content that everyone else has already created. Find your niche and really work with that to make sure you're unique and visible.
Super nice. We're already speaking roughly, I think, 50 minutes or something. And I think it was very interesting so far. Thanks so much for sharing so many insights. To wrap things up, I have one question that I basically just came up with right now. So if you would have to start your career from scratch again today, would you still start it in content and SEO or GEO, whatever? Or would you choose a different path? And if you would still choose content SEO, why?
It's super interesting. I think I would stay, but I would focus on SEO. Just because for me, I'm a completely analytical person. I really love to dive deep into the data and do big researches and analyze everything. This is like my really P work, and I really do enjoy this in the SEO area to create those strategies. I would say I'm just not that great of content creator, to be honest. And that's why I think I would more focus on like the whole strategy, building it around and combining like those strategies or the areas from like here's content, SEO, then the brand visibility. I really started loving it actually. And I'd stay. I think it's a nice place and it's changing all the time. So we have to change. And I think that's making us agile and even a better marketer, that we need to stay on top of everything.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it better. Ayla, it was a very nice talk. Time has flown. Thanks so much for sharing so many valuable insights. I think the perspective you provided from like the unique position that awork is in is super valuable for the audience. If people feel like they like the way you think about stuff, they want to hear more of you, or maybe they even want to hear more about awork, what's the best place to find and follow you?
Yeah, I'm super happy and always sharing on LinkedIn, like all things are search, marketing, awork related. So that's the place. And also our awork LinkedIn channel. That is also where we are sharing all of our product work, but also our like second area, which is like the whole work happiness section. We do have like a big study over there. So on those LinkedIn accounts, you'll find all the informations.
Very nice. And if I'm not mistaken, if people from the audience might also be from an agency, you guys actually also offer a free trial, right? So if people feel like they liked what you said about awork, and they also like to work or like to choose a software where people feel nice or seem nice, they can just go to the site and try it out, right?
Exactly, and not even agencies. So everyone
Okay.
can test awork, of course, just for free. And just cover it. I think it's super valuable for like a team project management tool. If you do have like a couple of people that you need to manage or projects, and you do want to skip the old Excel table and mails for like collaboration, awork is the place to go.
Very nice. Then we also put the link to this in the description.
Yep.
Thanks so much for being here today. Thanks so much for sharing so many insights. Please keep crushing at awork. Very much looking forward to meeting in person on September 23rd at the Future of Search here in Berlin, hosted by Radiant. And other than that, have a great day, have a great week, and hopefully speak soon.
Great. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.